Here's what my first month of Amazon FBA looked like and what I would do differently now. $9,000 in 2 weeks with no boss, no employees, just straight up grit, research, and honestly a lot of mistakes. So when I started Amazon FBA, I had literally zero experience. But by the end of month one of launching my product, I crossed nearly $10,000 my first month. So here's how I did it, what I would do differently, and what every beginner needs to know right now. My name is Kevin Pack, and I've been in the Amazon FBA game for well over 7 years, and I've ran multiple successful 6- and 7-figure companies, but it wasn't always like that. In the beginning, it was hard, it wasn't easy, and there's a lot of things that most people don't tell you about nowadays. So I knew Amazon FBA had potential, but I almost knew most people failed because they treated it like a get-rich-quick scheme. So I made a rule. Before I learned how to launch, I gave myself 60 days to research the product, build my listing, and launch something simple but still sell. So the rule I followed was no training BS, just start small and learn fast. I didn't pick a winning product, I picked a starter product. I used cheap software tools, Amazon itself, and Jungle Scout and Helium 10 with their free Chrome extensions. And what I really looked for was something that was lightweight, unbranded, low reviews but consistent sales, and generally less than 200 reviews for the competitors. Now I landed on an ultrasonic chemical repellent. And did they work? No. But did it put food on my plate for a bit? Yes. The margins were pretty good, but it was a test, not a jackpot. Now I sourced this part from Alibaba, and let me tell you guys, this part almost derailed everything. I messaged 12 suppliers, only 4 replied, and 2 really gave me some actual numbers. Now the green flags that suppliers offered was real product photos, willing to send samples, and they also accepted payment through their trade assurance. Now let's break down what my first month actually looked like. So I ordered 300 units, and my selling price was anywhere between $29.99 to $34.99. My total sales was about $9,000. My cost of goods was about $2,100, and I spent about $2,900 on ads, leaving me with a profit of about $4,000, which is way more money than I ever seen during that time. Now, let's go over some of my mistakes. Mistake 1. So because I didn't order an inspection on the product inventory that I was sending to Amazon, this led to a lot of problems. Like I didn't check if the product was gonna work, if there's any quality issues as well. And so when the product landed onto Amazon and then people were buying the product just didn't work at all, right? And there's an electrical component on the product as well. So people ended up complaining that the product doesn't work, and then they're leaving bad reviews, sending returns as well. And that hurt my listing. And on Amazon, having reviews is like one of the #1 things that you need to stay alive. As soon as you drop below like a 4-star rating, you're probably not going to make a good amount of sales. So it's important that your rating stays above 4 or even 4.5 preferably. And getting a product inspection is going to be important because that company is going to go in there, take a batch of your inventory, test it out, do a drop test, test the actual use of the product as well. They're going to check to see if it's packaged correctly as well so your boxes aren't beaten up. So it's just really a good quality check to make sure that your customers are going to get a good product at the end of it. So because I didn't do that properly and do my due diligence, it led to a lot of problems with my inventory being returned and bad reviews, and ultimately the listing died off eventually, even though I had really good margins. And the cool thing is product inspections like this don't really cost a lot of money. They cost maybe $150, maybe $200 if there are a lot more inventory, and you can actually request if you want to do way more batches of inventory and like do your entire inventory if needed, but it's going to be more expensive. I recommend they just take 10 or 15% of your inventory, and that's it. It's going to be cost effective. But honestly, the cost of the inspection isn't something you should be worried about. It's going to pay for itself, because if you don't do this, it's going to cost you a lot more money than if you just paid the $100 in the first place. Mistake number 2. So this product that I first launched didn't have any branding on it. So I didn't have custom packaging. I didn't have a good brand name over the product as well. So it just looked like everyone else's. This led to a lot of hijacker problems. Now, hijackers are basically other sellers that can go and hop under your listing and lower the price and offer a cheaper alternative. And then Amazon allows that. So they can go on there and then they can go ahead and just sell a copy of it. And it might not even be the same exact product. This is also something that led to #1, me getting more bad reviews and getting, returns as well. Because people were coming on to my listing because they had similar product. There's nothing that was differentiating. There was nothing deterring them to coming onto my listing and trying to sell counterfeits. Now, this doesn't happen nowadays as much if you have brand registry, but I didn't have that. I had no branding, so I couldn't apply for that. So it's important that you spend the money to get a trademark, get some good branding, and get good custom packaging, so that way you can stand out and you're less likely to get hijackers on your listing. Now, the way that hijackers get onto your listing is they could just search up your exact product, the ASIN, which is like Amazon specific code for your product, and they can just say, hey, I'm also selling the same product on the same brand. It's very similar to like people who are selling Nike or Colgate. Now, all of these other brands out there, they have multiple sellers under their listing because they can wholesale it. So they act as a wholesaler under your listing and try to sell at a cheaper price to get the sale and steal the buy box. So when a customer comes onto your listing, buys your product, it's your listing, but the sale goes to them instead of yourself. So getting custom packaging is pretty simple. You can go on websites like Fiverr to find a designer on there. And what you can do is you ask your supplier for your box outline or your die cut, send it over to the designer. They will draft something up. You do have to give them some input. You do have to give them like an idea about what style you want, theme, color, etc. And then they will design it, take that design, send it back to your supplier, and they will print it out for you on box. Mistake number 3. So having no advertising strategy is an easy way to bleed money, right? And advertising costs can just click, click, click. You'll be losing money if you don't pay attention to it, right? Pay-per-click advertising on Amazon is literally when you put in advertising for a keyword such as, let's say, in this case, it's animal repeller. So every time the customer searches animal repeller and you're placing your product ad for the keyword animal repeller, it'll show up as sponsored on Amazon. And you'll notice that when you go on Amazon, you'll see a lot of sponsored on the listing. That's an advertising. So if it's on there and your client is clicking on it or your customer to click on it, and that is costing you a click. So usually the pay-per-click advertising means if they click, you're paying like 50 cents or $1. If you let that keep running, you can end up bleeding a lot of money because you're not optimizing it. You're not optimizing for bidding adjustments. You're spending too much money on it. And also, if you're putting your targeting campaigns towards keywords that aren't very relevant, so let's say this animal repeller and I started just putting keyword targeting for repeller or just animal, that's not going to convert because it's too vague. It's not specific enough. You want to target very specific keywords. Usually this is common sense. Like you should be using common sense when you're creating your campaigns and targeting keywords that you would use when you want to find this product. So think about that. If I wanted to buy this product, what would I type in search? Typically, those are going to be your keywords. My advice to all the new Amazon sellers out there is don't wait for the perfect product. You learn faster by doing than overthinking. Start with a product that teaches you the systems, sourcing, shipping, listing, and launching. Learn the entire flow. The money follows after you become a master at this. So if you're serious about building something with Amazon FBA and selling products, subscribe. This channel is all about those real stories, no fluff. I'm going to break down everything on here. So drop a comment if you're going to start soon and I'll reply to every single one of them. And if you guys are interested in learning how to do Amazon and the full scope of it, click the link down below in the description for my free training and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.